Riverside Nashville's Impact the City Ministry presents Safe Space, a platform for leaders to keep it real and bring us into their personal stories of overcoming. This is an opportunity to remind ourselves that our trials are just as important as our triumphs because they both lead to our testimony. And now your host, Minister Damaris Miller.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 7th episode of Safe Space. I'm your host, Minister Damaris Miller, the young adult minister here at the Riverside Chapel. Listen, guys, God has been blessing this platform. I received a message the other day that encouraged me to keep on having these conversations about topics and challenging issues that are blessing, helping, and healing people who are going through the same thing. And so to our faithful viewers, what's up? To our new viewers, welcome. Today, guys, we have a special episode where we'll be dealing with part 2 of divorce recovery. We'll be talking about marriage after divorce, the things they didn't tell us. Would you pray with me? Heavenly Father, we come to you today, thanking you and praising you because you are a good, good Father. God, today we thank you and praise you for this opportunity to share our testimonies with the world so that it can bring healing, hope, and restoration to all who may hear. God, today be in the midst of everything we do and say so that you will get all the honor and the glory. In your name we pray. Amen. Please welcome our special guest, my beautiful wife, Dr. Ashley Miller, Pastor Johns, and Rhonda Johns. Welcome to the Safe Space.
Hey, what's up?
Hello.
How you guys doing today?
No rest for the weary.
We're doing
Okay, good. How are you?
Good.
Listen, Safe Space. Today we're going to talk about a topic that the church just doesn't talk about. We're going to talk about how God can still restore after divorce. But before we go into that, we're going to jump into our icebreaker. And so today, guys, we're going to play an icebreaker called One Has to Go. All right? One has to go. But we're going to switch this thing up a little bit. Rhonda, I need you to answer for Marquise. Ashley, I need you to answer for me. Okay. One has to
win. I don't want to play because Rhonda's going to win, and then I'm being in trouble after this show.
No. She has to answer your question.
Rhonda is going to win.
Okay. Rhonda, we're going to start off with you.
Okay.
Oh, I'm talking like if I have to do this afterwards, she's going to beat me is what I'm saying.
I agree. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm doing this. All right, Rhonda, this is for you. One has to go. And you have to answer this as if you're Marquise. Okay? One TV show has to go. The Cosby Show, Martin, Fresh Prince, or A Different World, and why?
One has to go. Can you say the options again? Martin,
The Cosby Show, Fresh Prince, or A Different World. One has to go.
I'm going to, not Martin, not The Cosby Show, Fresh Prince. I'm going to say A Different World.
Okay.
And the reason why I say Different World is because he probably can identify with some of the other characteristics in the other 3 shows. So Fresh Prince came from Philadelphia and moved out to LA, right? Martin, he likes comedy. So probably like that. And then what's the third?
Cosby Show.
The Cosby Show is a classic. So who's going to vote against Cosby? Nobody.
Correct. We're with you. All right. Ashley, one has to go. You got to answer for me. Okay. Cosby Show, Martin, Different World, or Fresh Prince?
I will say the only thing I can think is maybe the Fresh Prince. And the only reason I say that is because I love that show and I watch it every chance I get, but you don't seem to really care when I watch it. But Martin, you'll kind of watch it if I'm watching it, or you'll turn it on yourself. But it seems like I try to watch Fresh Prince every time I see it on television, and you just like, whatever, you're doing other things. I don't.
Okay. You are incorrect. I am Will Smith. I'm from West Philadelphia. Born and raised on the playground. That's what I spent most of my days. Shooting out, relaxing out, shooting some outside of school to a couple of guys that were no good.
Guys who were up to no good started making trouble in your neighborhood.
I got one little fight. My mom got scared.
I remember she said you were moving with your auntie and uncle in Bel Air. I remember that whole thing. I've known Damaris a very long time. I mean, I don't know how you didn't get that.
There you go. Now, Marquise, was Rhonda correct for you?
She was. And her reason. So first of all, she was put in a bad situation because she was forced to choose. I don't care about TV, right? Like I really like movies more so, but if I had to have one of those go, it would have been A Different World because, of course, Martin is classic. Fresh Prince, of course, we lived in Philly, but he was out here, some paths crossed, etc. And anybody that votes against Cosby, you should ask this to every one of your guests, because anybody who says Cosby has to go, I don't care what nobody says, you should just immediately say, okay, this episode is over.
It's done. It's done. It's done. Okay, I'm with you. All right, now Marquise.
So what was your answer? What would you get rid of?
It's A Different World, man. I just
whatever. Like Different World is whatever.
Yeah. Dwayne Wayne, not what was it? Dwayne Wayne, yeah.
And plus, Whitley did not stay fine the rest of her life, so I was like, "This is why."
Definitely fell off. Definitely fell off.
About Whitley, come on, that Whitley was the reason you watched that show. All right, go ahead.
All right, so one performer has to go. Now, Marquise, you have to answer this question for Rhonda. One performer has to go. All right, Shaka Khan, Patti LaBelle, Aretha Franklin, or Diana Ross, and why?
The problem here is my wife doesn't like female singers, right? She prefers male singers. So Shaka Khan, Aretha Franklin, who else?
We got Patti LaBelle and Diana Ross. You know what? Skip that.
No, because I can tell you, because she don't think Diana Ross can sing. So it'd be Aretha Franklin, Shaka Khan, and who's the other one?
Patti LaBelle.
Those are so my wife is because she was in Aeolians when she was at Oakwood, so she thinks she's in the area of singing. Okay. She everybody by their ability to sing, like she's like she had a world tour with Whitney Houston or somebody. So she definitely feel the least singing of those four, and the least singing of those four is Diana Ross.
Okay, all right. So let me answer this question for you, Ashley. One has to go Shaka Khan, Patti LaBelle, Aretha Franklin, or Diana Ross. I will say Aretha Franklin for you. No,
not Riri.
I mean, I meant to say Shaka Khan.
You meant to say Diana Ross.
I meant to say Diana Ross. That's what I meant to say. Actually, I meant to say Diana Ross,
because of the singing ability. Same thing. It's like.
My wife sang in DP, so I
really do.
Rhonda, were you in DP as well? No. Oh no, Rhonda.
No.
I was in GP.
Listen, I was the ball boy for everybody.
Okay. One has to go. Now this round, I'm switching the game up on you.
Okay.
And because people who may not know, Pastor Marquise Johns got bars. Like the dude's a rapper. The dude's like hip hop. The dude's like I remember when I first met Marquise, he was like, "Yo, I used to be in the game." I'm like, these dudes be swearing like, everybody swearing like I was the one. Yo, I researched this dude. I Googled his name. Diddy. I mean, dudes with everybody got the video where you got the white referee in the joint.
Yep.
It's like Mike Tyson Punch Out, but not. It's official.
Yeah.
So Rhonda.
Yes.
All right, you're dealing with real hip hop right there, and you're dealing with not this young.
Because I'm not a hip hop person.
No, but he's talking about for me, and this is gonna be easy. This is gonna be light work.
Okay,
this is gonna be light work.
Okay, let me.
It may not be. It may not be. One has to go, Rhonda.
One has to.
Right? And you're married to hip hop. This ain't, and I ain't talking about young jock. I'm talking about hip hop.
Oh yes, I don't know any youngs.
Nah, them little babies trash. But go ahead. She got it.
All right, one has to go. Nas, Biggie, Jay-Z, or Tupac. One has to go.
Whoa.
She know which one is going to stay.
Okay.
One has to go.
Biggie. Ooh, that's a hard one. Jay-Z or Tupac. Definitely Jay-Z's his favorite, so he's not getting rid of Jay-Z.
Okay, not
Jigga. Not
getting
rid of Biggie, because that's probably his runner-up.
Okay.
Oh no? Okay. And then Tupac or Nas? But you like Nas. Tupac, I would say, but he's from California, so I thought he would. But if I had to pick one, maybe Tupac.
Marquise, is she correct?
I don't. She almost asked me what that. Big is my runner-up. Nas is my runner-up in terms of sheer lyrics. But yeah, Pac to me, Pac was a movement, but Pac wasn't a lyricist. Pac wasn't like, I mean, early on he had bars, but like later on he just really became a movement and an embodiment of that socio-political aspect of hip hop. And so a different question, he might stay, but in terms of who I want to keep, like I listen to Big, Nas, and which is crazy because I'm from LA, right? But I listen to Jay, Nas,
He's from
Big.
the East Coast, really.
He is. He really is. He really is. So who's the top? Who's your top artist, Marquise?
Jay-Z, all time. Like,
give me a bar real quick without the curse words. Hello.
Oh, give you a bar without the curse words. This is this is one of my mantras. It is a couple mistakes here and there. I'm not always right, but I'm always real. That's how I sleep at night.
Yeah.
Here and there, I'm not always right, but I'm always real. That's how I sleep at night.
You almost started the cipher right now. I was really about to go back and forth.
They don't about my bars, but go. All right, well, this is not what this is about. This is a safe space. Don't kill nobody's career, D. Don't kill nobody's career. It's safe. It's safe.
Right. Safe space. Safe space. All right. Moving right along. Nas, Biggie, Jay-Z, or Tupac for me.
All right. Since I met you as a safe person, we don't listen to much rap. But I will go with Tupac because I only hear you talk about Nas, Biggie,
bars,
Jay-Z,
bars,
and you're correct. And the reason why behind it is just I'm East Coast, man.
Right.
Like so when the beef was there,
bars.
I just had to ride with what I was with. And on top of that, man, you know, and people might fight me, but Nas, man, if I rule the world, like, you know, like if I was a gun, like,
yo, that song, I gave you power, I made you buck wild.
I made you buck wild. Yeah. How you like me now? Yeah. All right. Last but not least, one performer has to go. Okay. This is a tough one. And so I'm gonna let you both just answer it for yourself. One performer has to go. James Brown, Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, or Prince.
Or who?
Or Prince?
Yeah.
Oh, James Brown. Yeah, that's not a question.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to rank those? We rank those. Michael Jackson, she may disagree with us, Prince, Stevie Wonder. That's the rank.
I think the rank is even better.
For you.
I would say, shoot. I would say Stevie Wonder, Prince, Michael Jackson. I don't even know if I can say that, but I think I am.
Okay.
I think I am.
Okay.
Yo, I think you need another couple to do this with us. We out.
Robert, do you agree with Marquise's his list?
Yes, I put Michael Jackson in my number one.
Okay.
And then I probably put Stevie Wonder as my number 2, and then Prince is my number 3.
Gotcha.
But that's just for me personally. If I were to say like the general population would probably agree with the order Marquise put them in.
Okay. For me, it's Michael, James, Stevie, and then Prince. Man, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, you do play
Prince pants selection, man. His outfit selection, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, his pants.
I don't know. His pants selection may have been questionable, but I mean, over the year, those pants worked for him.
That's correct. Okay, well, guys, we thank you for taking some time out to go through this icebreaker. The safe space conversation for today is how do we deal and navigate through divorce and now to be married again. And so at this time, I'm going to give you opportunity to take over here for safe space.
So crazy thing for me, I got married when I was young, relatively. Met my ex-wife when we were in our 20s. We weren't in the church. We didn't grow up Christian. We grew up in the streets, you know what I mean? And so we got pregnant almost right away with our first son. And I just had a life where I wasn't going to let, my son grow up without a dad. And so we definitely decided we were going to stay together. We stayed together, had 2 more kids, and we were both in the streets. I mean, believe it or not, she used to gang bang, I used to gang bang, so there were those similarities there. But when I came to Christ, I kind of came to her with almost like an ultimatum of like, look, this is what I'm on, this is where we going. And we had studied before together. And so reluctantly, initially, she said, all right, look, I'm going to jump on board. And she really took to Adventism. And again, we came into an ultra conservative strain of Adventism. And so we really immersed ourselves in that thing. And of course, when you are ultra conservative, those who grow up Adventist, you know, when you swing all the way to the right, it's no dairy, no egg whites, no this, no that, no this, no that. And so for a time, we really embraced that, really was on board with it. And then as I felt God calling me into full-time ministry, we moved around a couple of times, and finally she kind of came to me. I mean, it was through a series of unfortunate events that, you know, it was just pretty crazy. But she kind of came to me and was like, yo, this is, you called to this, I'm not called to it. And it was heartbreaking. Of course, over the years growing up together, I can't front and act like I was a perfect husband. I put her through HELL. You know what I mean? Just trying to be, again, we dated through my rap career. So I was all of what rappers do. I was clubbing, I was chicks, everything. And so it just got to a point where, again, even in the church, through a series of unfortunate events, she was like, this ain't me. And yeah, that was that, man. She kind of made that move. And she made a move to ensure that there was no future for us. And even though I tried to kind of hang in there, she was like, this is just not what I want. And even today, we're real cool. She just doesn't want what, not just Christianity, but what Adventism has to present and has to offer. And so that's my story in a nutshell. Of course, we can get into it, D, because D was there on ground zero when my marriage began to fall apart, if you will. I literally stayed with Damaris through that process. But that's the story in a nutshell.
Yeah. And so day one, after the papers are signed, you know, take me through the process of you were in ministry at the time, correct?
Well, I was see, my story is tricky, D, and you know that. So I came out of being like a church hire, then I went to Oakwood, but because of my background in the ultra conservative movement, where I had been on 3ABN, I had been through Amazing Facts, I had done a bunch of those things. Everybody that knew me already as Pastor Johns, even though I wasn't ordained, licensed, hired by a conference or any of that. So when I was at Oakwood, I was still preaching very frequently, very regularly as Pastor Johns. So we got divorced after my first year at Oakwood. And so it was crazy because now you're going to places. So this wasn't the question you asked, but now you're going to places that you had been when you were married, and people are asking about, so how's your wife doing? And you're kind of like, kind of avoiding the question, if you will. But the day I was at Oakwood, we were at Oakwood, the day I got the papers, it just was like, I never wanted that. That's not, when I got married, I was going to get married for life, no matter what happened in the situation. And it was just a very surreal moment, like, dang. And I got 3 boys, you know, and you begin to think about, okay, what does this mean for our family? What does this mean for how we're going to be a family? What impact and what influences will now my boys be subjected to? And so the day I got the papers, I kind of just sat with them and just was like, dang, we had been separated at that point for about a year. But then it was just real when those papers hit, man. And the day after, there have been so many things during our separation that when I got the papers, of course, it was bittersweet. It was like, I can't believe this happened. But at the same time, it was like, well, you know, this is the eventuality of this relationship.
Yeah. What was that conversation like with your boys?
Well, you know, when I decided to, because I filed the papers, I filed for divorce, and I was mad about some of the things that happened that led to our divorce. So I kind of was a jerk with how I told them. I was just like, yo, your mom and I are getting a divorce. You know what I mean? And they were young, and I regret that, actually. I regret how I didn't ease them into what was happening to their mom and to their dad. But again, we had been separated for so long, and she had begun dating. So for them, it was just like, you know, we didn't have a conversation with, hey, look, now we got papers and it's official. It was already pretty much a done deal, you know?
Yeah. So You graduate Oakwood, ministry's at your front door. Do you run into any barriers as you're looking for a call into ministry? How was that process for you?
It's funny because one of our mutual mentors, Dr. Bird, literally kind of was like, look, whatever you got in your system, get out before you get in ministry, right? And he probably gonna kill me for telling anybody he said that to me. But it was like, one of the things that Doc Doggett, Doc Bird, Doc Bushner, who really rallied around me and kept me in ministry, because after the divorce, I really was like, maybe this isn't from even trying to mend the relationship before it eventually deteriorated into divorce. I was like, maybe I shouldn't do ministry either. And all three of them was like, yo, if you don't do ministry, it was Doggett who actually said, if you don't do ministry, you going to hell. And so navigating getting into ministry, it wasn't a big deal. Although when I did interview with Allegheny East, because I had a divorce on me, they asked that I get counseling before I was pretty much hired, but they wanted to they made a point of saying, we would like you to get some counseling. I'd already had some, but they was like, while you're here with us, we want you to get counseling. So it wasn't any barriers, because what people did was they said, well, that happened when he was in school, right? It wasn't like I was a full-time pastor pastoring a congregation. It was like, I was a circuit preacher, a revivalist, an itinerant preacher. And so that was kind of the barrier. Graduation from Oakwood presented for me a kind of a safety net to say, these are mistakes that he made as a student before he got into full-time ministry.
Yeah. So you're at your first church as a divorced pastor. Metro, correct?
Say again?
You're at Metro, correct?
Yeah.
And so, I know a number of different, pastors that introduce pastors like, yo, we got a new pastor here and he's single. How that
he's the husband of no wife,
And it's almost like setting you up for all eyes to be on you, people to be in your business. I know of a few friends that are just like, man, I'm not even ready for this type of attention. Mm-hmm. How did you embrace that situation coming into Metro?
So what's crazy is I had actually about 2.5 years after my divorce, I got into a relationship, and me and that person were pretty serious. And it's funny because when I got to Metro, I served under her mom. And then this became like the homie, right? She became like my homegirl. We would go to movies, we would hang out, and I don't want to put because you never know who's listening. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or anything. But I was in a relationship when I got to Metro, so it was easy. But there were people who was like, why all of these pastors coming to church with women already? And that was literally something someone said. It was like, every time a pastor come in here, you already got a woman. We got daughters that need to get married. It was like, what? Who says that? Who thinks that, right? And so it was easy to navigate. But the truth of the matter was, when that relationship deteriorated was when it got real. And this was my rider. This was my, come by her to make sure you all right. You know what I mean? For sure. And so she would peg joints. She'd be like, Rhonda would be like, that ain't gonna work, and that ain't gonna work, and that ain't gonna work. And it worked because she liked me, because actually Rhonda did not like me. Right. She has a story that maybe she'll get into of something I did that she was like, I like him as a person and as a friend, but he annoys me.
Yeah. She said in her mind, still to this day.
After that relationship, to where it became, then trying to date and trying to find someone is like trying to case a bank to rob it. You know what I mean? You got to move in a certain way. Everybody, because you can't just bring a joint to church like, hey, this is, because if it don't work out, then it was like, our pastor's a gigolo. He's a playboy, so you got to move in a particular way, man. And so it was after that relationship kind of came to its conclusion. And then I was trying to date, that it became kind of hard. I got the whole, if I would go preach somewhere, you be in Atlanta or you be somewhere and somebody gets up and does that introduction and says, and ladies, he is the, I typically it's like, he's the husband of one wife. It says, he's the husband of no wife. And then
Yeah, definitely.
What is happening here? And I've had some crazy experiences even in that regard. There's a young lady out in Huntsville called Danita Jones, who's married to Paul Jones, which is Ben Jones's son. And she was like I ran a crusade in Columbus, and she was my stage director. And she had to literally protect me from some joints. And she had an experience that she was like, I had heard this happen to pastors, but I never thought I would get exposed to it. So it was crazy when I was single. That's when it got kind of real. Yeah, it was crazy.
So you've kind of hinted toward you've met Rhonda as a friend. Rhonda, what was your first initial thought? You know, your mom is the senior pastor. You know, she introduces Pastor Johns, and you're like, what was your thoughts?
I didn't know him beforehand, but my mom had said she went down to Evangelism Council. She met this pastor. She thought he was very impactful, and that, you know, possible that he might come up to Metro. So when I first met him, I was like, oh my goodness, he could just do so much talking, so much talking about just talking. And I was just like, it's much. I told my mom, I said, are you sure? You really sure that you want to bring him? She's like, yes. So, you know, I trust my mom as being a very prayerful woman, and that if she felt that was who God impressed her to bring to the church, then I was going to be on board. But I did feel like he was this big, giant personality that kind of consumed the room. And I was like, whoa, it's a lot.
Yeah. And so you are friends, you're helping him out, kind of navigate some of these wolves, or basically you're like, nah, she ain't gonna work. Nah, don't worry about that. What was like the switch from it going from friend to like, yo, it's kind of cute, you know?
She hasn't had that switch. It does not happen. You know what I mean? I wake up sometimes looking at me like,
oh goodness. I think it was through a series of bad relationships that we were just confiding, kind of saying, oh, this is terrible because XYZ has happened, or this ABC has happened. And then so it was kind of like, okay, well, we seem to get along well. Like, why is it that we're having all these bad experiences with other people, and we seem to come back together to talk and to kind of console each other? So why shouldn't we kind of explore this a little bit more? At first, I was very resistant. I was like, no, this cannot work. But, you know, slowly over time, he broke me down.
You know how it is.
How we do, you know how we do. So it's interesting,
Ashley. You now Mrs. Miller.
Exactly. So it's interesting for me, you know, after my divorce, man, I went through a stage where, Marquise, I was like, yo, I'm never doing this thing again. I felt a ugly mark. The difference for me was that I got divorced in ministry. I'm pastoring at Oakwood. You know, I mean, it was like the ugliest thing. I thought I was marked for death. And not only I thought I was marked for death, I had so much guilt and shame as the person who was primarily the cause of the divorce. And for me, the shift that took place was when God told me that you will love again. Did you have, you know, how was that transition time? I know you said after a couple of years you got into a serious relationship. Like, did you go through, was like, this ain't for me? Because my healing process was interesting, and I'll just be transparent. Ashley knows about this. I was in Atlanta. I left ministry. I just went black. I mean, I didn't talk to my parents. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't talk to you, Keith. I just went black. And then as God started to restore me, I was like, okay, I'm kind of ready to date. And I jumped on some dating apps, you know, Bumble and Tinder and POF. And because it's a new game now. It's a new game. Like I come from where you used to like say, hey, you know, how are you doing? And not just saying WYD, what you doing? You know, well, it was a conversation. And for me, Keith, part of my restoration process was that I was like, no church girl will ever want a divorced man who is the cause of the divorce. Dude. And God started to allow me to go on dates from POF from women that didn't have a belief system, and they literally started to build me back up. Like, dude, that's all you did? Like, yo, wait, you never beat her up? I mean, like you ain't been to jail for nothing real. You ain't, like they started to build me up. Was there a process, especially after your first serious relationship after your divorce? Did you feel like, yo, you know what? I'm just gonna focus on my boys, ministry, and then it started to transpire into you and Rhonda, or were you kind of ready and like, because I know some people like, I'm not about this single life. I got to be with somebody.
So that was kind of me, right? It was like I kept trying, you know what I mean? And I had these moments, man, because I had my boys, and now they're in Texas, I'm in Maryland, and there would be moments when I'd wake up and I'd just be like, there's supposed to be noise. I'm supposed to be telling someone, hey, shut up there. You know what I mean? And it's like, this is not, I felt like I had built and laid the foundation and the bricks to have what I was supposed to have at that stage and at that, I mean? I'm from the hood. I never thought I'd even have a career. You know what I mean? I'm outside of the rap game. And so I've gotten all of those things in place, man. And there would just be moments like a Sunday morning or a Tuesday afternoon or something, and I just like literally miss that I had a family that wasn't present, man. You know what I mean? That thing was crazy for me. And one of the things that was really dope about Rhonda, because I was in Maryland and they really brought me into their family. Like Rhonda would make sure I had Christmas gifts, her mom, and then would be like, yo, come over for Thanksgiving, come over for Easter, and that type of stuff. And one of the craziest, dopest things that happened that we look back on together is I brought the boys out to Maryland one time. And here is the truth. Rhonda did not marry me for anything I bring to the table, with the exception of my 3 sons. Rhonda met and fell in love with the boys, right? And so she answered that question honestly. She was kind of like, how do I get to have more time with these people and ensure they don't turn out like him?
Yeah.
I could marry him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there was a time when I brought the boys out. And Rhonda, again, because I was like, and it's crazy because it sounds somewhat incestuous, but because her mother is like my mother in ministry, so I was the big brother. So when she was dating, people would be like, yo, check him out. What you think about him? And similarly, she was the sister, right? So she'd be like, I don't know about this girl, or Marquise, you tripping and you wilding. And so the boys came out. And so we all hung out, and I had to do something church related. And Rhonda was like, oh, I'll take them out with me. And so she took the boys, man. And I would really love if she could share if you don't mind sharing that conversation that you had with Solomon. The one was like, oh, but your dad has.
You tell us.
Okay. And so she takes the boys, and she's hanging out with the boys, and the boys are like, because Rhonda is extremely accomplished. I definitely married up. So they're at her house, you know what I'm saying? She got her crib, you know what I'm saying, doing her thing or whatever. And so they're like, yo, this is a nice house. Who lives here with you? And who does that? You remember that?
No, but
and so they're like, yo, and she's like, well, I don't have nobody like your dad. And Solomon's like, no, my dad has us. And she was like, oh, you know what I mean? It's kind of like,
yeah.
And so that was very important to me, because again, not only am I like, similarly, bro, like I'm like, nobody wants a divorced male pastor with kids, even though they're not with me all the time. Like, who wants to raise somebody else's kids? And being a man, women, if they don't have kids, they gonna want kids, you know what I mean? So you're like, yo, I kind of already done that, if you will. And so it was great to see Rhonda. And this was part of the switch that kind of flipped for me, was Rhonda loved my kids just like they were hers. So when we decided to take that next step, we like literally, and it's crazy because Damaris, my boys, them from they were like this, right? So we go out to go see the boys, and I pull them aside. Me and Rhonda sit them down and say, hey guys, so look, there's something we want to tell you. And they're like, so y'all are dating? We're like, nah, we was gonna go get ice cream first, and yeah, we're dating. It was like, yeah, we know, and it was like, I mean, and it was very seamless because they also love and love. I mean, like, they come here and they hang out with her. They don't really care about me. She doesn't care about me. She married me for my children.
Yeah. It's interesting you said that. I would love to hear Ashley's perspective of, I think our situation was just a little different.
Mm-hmm.
She heard about my story, and tell us a little bit about, for us, we have mutual friends. We went to Oakwood together for a little bit, but she was on her way out. I was on my way in for my second time around. And she had we have the same friends. And so I didn't realize it, Keith, but I was, you know how you go on Facebook and you just like somebody's picture, then you go to their page and you just like the pictures,
Right.
I was like liking 15 pictures at a time. And so, but she's in the same circle. So she's like, I'm seeing her with my cousins, like my people, like, yo, wait, like what's going on? And I just find myself just liking, double clicking. And then one day she slid into my DM, you know what I'm saying?
I know how
but she was like, yo, you like a lot of my pictures. What's up? And I'm like, so at first I paused because Keith, I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I'm impressed. I don't like,
who are you?
So I go back to the page, mad red hearts all through the joint. Like it's just red hearts, double likes. And so what for you, Ashley, what was the process of knowing you asked about me, you heard my story, kind of what went through your mind when you were kind of like considering even having a conversation with me? Because I don't think you loved me at first sight.
No, not quite.
Okay.
I would say
I saw you fishing for like, so you first.
You can say it.
Yeah. I think I would say I didn't know you at all. Like I didn't even know your name. I had this image. We were in two locations at the same time in the past, but we never spoke. I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know your name or anything like that. So I had this mindset of, if I can be honest, I thought he was like Jamaican with an accent, like from Jamaica with an accent. I have no idea where that came from, but that's the story I had in my mind.
Brethren.
I thought he had a whole accent, like he was straight off the island, right? But anyways, I digress. Back to what I was saying. So anyways, I figured you were divorced just based on what you put on social media. Because at one point I did know that you were married. So anyways, in terms of speaking to you or reaching out, I didn't let that be a hindrance, I guess. I just was like, well, you must be single. You have to be single. There's no way that you're still married and doing, like doing what you're doing. Right. So I didn't let that stop me from reaching out to you. And then within a week of sharing with a friend that I was speaking to you, not even dating you, but just speaking to you, they told me your situation or whatever. And I just, I guess I allowed you to prove yourself versus writing you off or, not giving you a chance.
You guys, that blew my mind. Like I had received, after my divorce, I received like hate mail. I received people that were my people stopped talking to me. I how you have friends with couples, Keith, and then all of a sudden everybody get funny with you. I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? And so I went through this whole, like, I feel like people were just dogging me, dissing me, disconnecting from me. And when she reached out to me, I was like, man, like, she is not bringing up my past. She didn't say like, yo, so what happened? Like, just it was straight up like, you like a lot of my pictures, which kind of still played me, but it wasn't the same, interrogation. And I'm like, I went to Oakwood, it's a small circle.
Yeah, and indeed, the truth of the matter is your situation, like you said, you weren't just in ministry. You were working with Dr. Bird at Oakwood, and your former situation was someone who, had some gravitas, if you will, to their family and to who they were. So I'm surprised. It's funny when I heard Ashley say, "Well, I didn't know your name." Everybody knew, like you said, about the situation and had a perspective and an opinion on it. So again, that's just, as we talk about healing after divorce, is how God's halting and helping hand sometimes shields a situation so that you can prove your own merits and who you are. And so, just grateful to God for that, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And it's crazy the process for me on how he built me up through these, non-Christian apps to then feel like I have the confidence to even have a conversation because, like I said, I was just liking pictures. I really wasn't consciously trying to holler. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't. And she called me out, but God had already built up a confidence in me that he still loves me. You know what I'm saying? That it's not over. You can love again. And when I was dating from Bumble and Tinder, I was like, yo, I want to love, but not that. You know what I'm saying? And it was just interesting how the secular relationships was just like, dude, you are a great guy. And often, this is my little commercial for the Adventist church. Often it's people from the outside who see us and value us way more than we value ourselves in the fold. They're like, oh my goodness, you got degrees, you got, your head all right, you ain't got kids all over the place, you ain't got a bunch of baby mamas, and even if you did, you only got 2. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they look at it differently. And I never got a chance to see that. And God used that as a restoration process for me, so that when it came time to start having a conversation with Ashley, like I was straight up like, yo, I made the mistake. These are my faults, man. I've learned from them, and just like from the get start, I wasn't trying to hide, sugarcoat it or nothing like that. Where normally, if I wasn't restored and I didn't know that God loved me, Marquise and Rhonda, I would have been like, yo, we had a entanglement. You know what I'm saying? Like I'd have been trying to work. You know what I'm saying? Like I was trying to play this word game. Yeah. But I was like, yo, I messed up. I was in a dark place. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a part of what God does for you through, like you said, the healing process. So for you, Rhonda, knowing the situation with Marquise, kind of what was your mindset like, stepping into this realm of relationship with a man that's been divorced,
honestly, to me, it wasn't that much of a factor. Like I've been listening to you sort of describe it. And I think I guess maybe our friendship probably put a lot of distance in between what could potentially be some concerns. I mean, I had known him for several years to the point in time where we started dating. So I felt a lot more comfortable. He had been kind of open about the fact that he was divorced. I had met his kids. So I felt a sense of comfort with that. So I wasn't too much concerned about, well, I was concerned, yes, you've been divorced and sort of what happened with that, but it wasn't enough to deter me from moving forward in the dating process.
Yeah, I wasn't going to let her be deterred. I had made the decision.
Yeah.
It was going to be, you know what I mean? And so she didn't really have a choice. You know what I mean? This was,
I'm hostage.
If I had to, I was going to just chain her up and put her in the basement. And it's just keep it. That's what's going to happen.
Do what we got to do. And so, Rhonda, let me ask you this question. And this is just, we're gonna dig a little deep. Did you have any naysayers like, yo, be careful of him? How did that go if you did?
Yeah, so I think you have naysayers for a lot of different reasons, right? So I think there were naysayers just because, okay, one, he's a pastor. Is that the kind of life that you want to be married into? Right? It's kind of a public life. Is that something you want? I mean, he was married, he has kids, our lifestyles are very, very different. Marquise grew up, as he said, on the streets doing this, that whole rap game. I mean, I don't even know if I know all the words to one rap song.
I love it when they call me Big Pop.
I don't know all the words.
Oh,
So our lifestyles are just very different. So I think for a lot of reasons, people were like, just be sure this is what you want to do. But again, I think because we had this friendship, we were able to kind of see where some of our commonalities were. And that, again, also gave a level of comfort, like, yes, we can move forward in this relationship.
Yeah. What about for you, Ashley? Did you have any haters? Not haters, but
I would say I ran into, yes, but just concern I think I was a lot of people's little sister and this and that. So they wanted to protect me, you know? So, is one thing that I'm marrying a pastor. My dad's a pastor. And of course, my whole life, I'm not ever going to marry a pastor. So they're like, oh, are you sure? Like you've always said you don't want to, this and that. And then the added that you're divorced. And for me, since I guess I never made it such a big deal that you were divorced, I think they were like, are you sure? Like, are you really putting everything into perspective? So the answer is yes.
Yeah. And it's crazy. It's crazy because I remember hearing some of the questions and I'm like, yo, just holler at me. You know what I'm saying? You would see, you would hear, you would feel that I've changed, that I've learned, and that I don't ever want to experience those things again. But there were people who weren't talking to me. And so I had like people who I believe had good intentions, was like, you need to get a prenup. I'm like, yo, I came from nothing. I ain't trying to take nothing. I don't need, I'm gonna be all right. Like that's not me. And I know they came from good intentions, but it became for me, to a certain degree, it was I'm already shameful, y'all. I'm already like daily, hourly beating myself up. And then they hear these questions from people who never, we have a friend, a friend that actually, her friend called my ex-wife. Like, yo, tell me about him. I'm like, yo, you ain't never gonna get nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like she ain't gonna be like, yo, this is the best thing. I'm missing out. She ain't gonna do that. And she took that conversation and basically tagged me with it. And I'm like, yo, I actually don't have a problem with you talking to her. But let me tell you how God has forgiven me. Let me tell you how I forgave myself. Let me tell you how I've learned from it. And so it put this, if I can be honest, just like this shameful like tag over me, where I can remember after we got serious, we went to alumni. I haven't been back to Oakwood in 3 years, going on 4 years. And Ashley's like, yo, I can't wait to get back to alumni, this, that, and the third. And I'm like sweating, I got the bald head, so I can't even hide the sweat. I'm red in the face. And she's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, yo, this is
where it happened.
Yeah. I'm going, man. And one of the key things, man, how God really showed me, that Ashley was the one. She was like, yo, don't even worry about it. And I'm like, yo, what do you mean don't worry about it? Don't you know this is where the hate mail? I'm like, don't you know? She's like, yo, we're going to enjoy ourselves. And literally, guys, like I went back there and received so much love. I don't know if God protected me from the haters, but dude, man, people were like, oh my God, Pastor, running up to me, old, young, like. And I remember getting in the car telling Ashley, like, yo, God has fully restored me. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the struggle for it. Marquise, for you, you mentioned going back to places, where you've preached and stuff. Now you're at Rhonda. Did you experience any of that tension, or was it kind of like, yo, I'm here,
The good thing for me is, and you know me, D, I'm like, what I'm saying? This is me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm gonna be me. But for me, Huntsville is not for any traumatic thing that happened with individuals. Like I made some decisions when I was there, because there came a point, man, like I actually attempted to just end it all, just because I felt like I had fractured my family in a way that I never thought I ever would want to do because of what I grew up in. But to me, it's like sometimes when I go to Huntsville, man, it's just like, like this is ground zero for, again, a very traumatic experience for me, because no matter who did the deed, no matter who messed up, divorce is a very traumatic, psychologically traumatic event for anybody. And so, but I think that after I kind of got, similar to what you said, D, after I kind of was really like, yo, and this is, like you said, keeping it a whole stack. When I was like, yo, I could get a job in an Allegheny East Conference. Like, yo, like in the Black Word at that time when I got in, it was like Allegheny East Conference was one of the most stable financial. The territory was good. You around the GC, you around the Columbia Union. I was like, yo, and I'm pastoring like the 4th largest tithing church in the conference. We baptizing like crazy. I'm bringing in artists. I was like, what? You know what I'm saying? I was like, I dare somebody to say something to me. And that's not always a good thing. It was just like, I think it's just as much a cover for shame as was what you dealt with, right? It was like, I was more bravado, more daring, more, I don't say nothing to me. I got more baptisms than you. You know what I mean? Like, and so my disposition and my approach was like, you know, I got a job already, even with a divorce, so it's not nobody else can say to me. But there are still those moments where in Huntsville, it was just ground zero for so many different things. And because my ex-wife and I are cool, we're cool. She knows Rhonda. I mean, they like each other. You know what I mean? And so, but it was a lot that went into the decision for us to get divorced. A lot of brokenness, a lot of damage, a lot of hurt from both sides. You know, and so sometimes when I'm in Huntsville, it's just kind of like a, you know, the air is a little bit thinner and the atmosphere is a little bit thicker. Where, but outside of that, man, I just, you know, like another one of our mentors used to say, let the church roll on, man. Let the church roll on.
True statement. So you guys decide to get married. You know, I think for me, doing it for the second time, you know, I just got some wisdom now. You know, I just know how to shut up about certain things pertaining to the wedding and stuff. I saw you guys have a beautiful wedding. Marquise, how was that experience? Because I think we had a different experience where if I remember correctly, your first wedding wasn't, you know, the large wedding like you had your second time.
Nah, we got married in Vegas. You know what I mean? We dipped over to Vegas. Is funny because a big time producer was the one who paid for our suite. He's since he was killed. Johnny J produced a lot of Tupac stuff, produced some stuff for me as well when I was doing music. But yeah, definitely we did. And I mean, I got married in some Jordans and some Polo. You know what I mean? But this time, on the second go round, it was really, this was her time. This was her day. This was whatever she wanted. There were a couple of hiccups because, of course, we got married. What was I? How old was 5 years now? I was 40. You know what I'm saying? So there were some things that I was kind of like, I felt a way about certain things. But for the most part, I really wanted it to be her thing. I really wanted it to be for her. All I care, like, I mean, come on. The truth of the matter is, all I cared about was my drip. You know what I mean? Like, all right, look, suit up, wear it.
Yeah.
Whatever else you want to do, wherever you want to do it at, who you want to I just need my suit game on point. That was pretty much it. Outside of that, I was like,
yeah. And I remember you were getting fit for 40 too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I saw you.
Yeah, it was really just to get her. Like,
yeah. So Rhonda, and it's interesting, and I'll come to you actually after, you know, so I did the large wedding. People I didn't know, conference presidents. I mean, it was like just large. And so my second time around, I wanted it to be intimate, but also not take away from Ashley's desires. And so for you, Rhonda, how was this process for you? Was this like, I've been waiting, you know, my whole life, and this is what I want to do? And, you know, how was that process for you getting married for the first time to someone who's already been married?
Rhonda mad different. I was gonna
say,
different.
I'm not really a girly girl like that. So I wasn't this person that had these dreams about this is how my wedding is going to be and this is how my dress is going to be. I was very simple. You know, I just went into one store. I was like, I'll take this dress. I told the florist, I want some white flowers. She's like, what kind of flowers? I was like, I don't know.
The kind that are white.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's all. White flowers. You know, we went to one cake place. I was like, I'll take that one. I wasn't very into like specific details and doing the Pinterest boards and cutting things out. So, you know, I wanted it to be something, I'm very family oriented. I wanted to make sure all my family could be there, from my grandmother, who's now 98, all the way down to my young cousins, and everyone have a good time. Like, that was the most important, and to have good food. Now, we can't have a wedding with no good food. That's very important. So that was the one thing. But, you know, other than that, I was pretty much open to kind of saying, you know, I want it to be a good time. So
it's interesting. And go ahead.
No, the other thing is what Rhonda is, and this is the thing that I love about her. Rhonda is super duper money conscious, very accomplished woman, super duper money accomplished. So she's coming at this thing like we broke, right? She's like, oh no, we like true story, not like to gas her or nothing, but Rhonda financially, she don't no student loans. She graduated Columbia, no student loans, whole 9 yards. And so the one thing that she was very, intentional about was we don't want to put so much money into a wedding that we could turn around and have put into a house. So those things were like, I think that was the one thing she was pretty much a stickler about. So anything we was going to do had to be on a deal. And and she was out like shopping, like she was on welfare and food stamps running out. Right. And I'm like, I got it in the bank, blow the bank.
Exactly.
That's not how this is gonna work. You know what I mean? So we probably put more energy into what the boys were going to wear than we probably put into the rest of the wedding, to be honest. But it like even like, so when I asked Rhonda about her ring, and I would love to hear, Ashley talk about this too. So I, because I've been around her for a while, so there were questions already kind of asked, and and I know women want the big, Rhonda was like, if you can't walk out of there and own it, don't buy it.
Come on now. Yeah.
She was like, I wanted a solitaire diamond, blah, blah. I want to get the, I put on layaway,
Exactly. Give me that full carry. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But this is the thing that I've learned in our relationship and marriage is the importance of being financially responsible, even when it's something like you think is a big deal, like a wedding and somebody, this is something they've waited their lifetime for. So I don't know, Ashley, how was you? Did you want the
Yeah. So he didn't own it. I don't think he owned it coming out the store.
Oh no, let me keep it a track. Let me keep it a track with you though. Neither did I.
That's just what she wanted. Yeah.
Wanted. It wasn't as many payment plans as it could have been. The payment plan wasn't as long, but
right.
Yeah. So for you, Ashley, it's interesting because I think our wives are alike. Because I'm like, yo, so you got flowers? I'm on 10 because I was on 10 my first one. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, so what flowers you got picked out? She was just, I think you tell us how was your experience for the wedding for you?
Well, I never really wanted a big wedding. I wanted more like we just take all the family and go to an island and hang out for a week type of thing. We didn't do that, but it was still just close friends and family. And, just, I was into details and, stuff like that. So, but we didn't go broke. It was paid for in cash. So we didn't want that. So
it was a blessing, man. It was, I think when I look back, I can name everybody that was at my wedding.
Yeah. And see, for the first time, that was me, but on the second go round, because who her mother is, the fact that I was like, we had people who were upset that they didn't get invited. You know what I mean? Like, oh, why didn't you invite us? And it was like, because first of all, we don't care. But second of all, we did have to have, I had to accommodate, my conference president, and so it turned out that there were people there who under normal circumstances I wouldn't have cared whether they were there or not, but it was definitely a little bit bigger than we even thought it would be in the beginning. It turned out to be a little bit bigger because her mother is Brenda Billingy. I had done enough to where people now kind of was my own person, my own entity, but I just wanted to make it pop. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Keith, going into the wedding, I know for me, I had a few fears, man. I was like, yo, Lord, take everything that's bad out of me. Like, I can't jack this one up. Like, I was like, purge me. I'm like, just take it out, cut it off, whatever, because I was so fearful of failing, nobody plans, and we talked about this last episode with Rebecca Davis. Nobody plans to get divorced.
No,
you know what I'm saying. And so it was one of my most public failures, and I wanted to make sure that I got everything out. And then God began to speak to me. And was like, that's not how this thing works. You want to be with somebody who will love you in spite of that. So God began to speak to me in ways that I just, because I had this picture like, yo, I will never go through this again. I'm never going to embarrass myself, going to embarrass my family, going to embarrass the church. Like, I'm never going to go through that. How was that process for you? Like, all right, you got your tux on, you clean the drips on, and you were 45 minutes before the wedding. Like, take me through what was going through your mind.
So again, my situation was a little bit different than yours, but Rhonda had already. So her and I, we got Henry Wright did our marriage counseling, and Henry Wright and her mom married us, right? So Rhonda, I had in the course of our dating and courtship, I did everything I could to push her away, right? And I wasn't always doing it intentionally. It was just coming from where I come from, my background. It was similar, like, nobody's gonna love me, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, I'm the street urchin, whatever the situation, whatever the different analogies or language that people use to describe somebody like me coming from the street into the Seventh-day Adventist church. But I had put her through so much that, it was the fact that we were there, to me, was an indication that we were going to be all right. Because I gave her every opportunity, every reason, you name it. Like, and plus she was my home girl. So she knew, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How to navigate those waters. You know what I mean? She was aware, you know what I mean? Some stuff that your boy was on, that he was doing. So there were moments where I was the most despicable version of myself. And she loved me anyway, right? And so at that point, this is a safe space, and you know me very well, D. I was like, man, I don't care what nobody thinks. She down to do this, then I'm straight. You know what I mean? And so 45 minutes before, I just wanted to make sure that she was, I was like, as long as she's all right, I don't really care about anything. And like I said, because I had given her the absolute worst version of myself on multiple occasions, to where, this is why, people may think I'm the crazy one, but any sane person would have been like, nah, I'm straight. So I know she got a little crazy too. Right? So I remember a situation, we were in Brooklyn going to go do something, and we had an argument about something. And I was in rare form, and she was like, I just can't do this. I just can't do this. And I was like, good, all right, whatever. She's like, and we stepped back, and I realized I was being a jerk. I came and I was like, my bad. You got to understand how I came up. These things are all right. And she's like, it's okay. And I was like, what? You know what I mean? Like, and so for me, the 45, the 15, the 45, the 40, the 30, the 15 minutes leading up to us walking down the aisle, I was like, the fact that we're here, I know we're going to be all right.
Yeah. I love that. Rhonda, what about for you? 45 minutes, got your face did, got the gown on, you know what I'm saying? Get the pictures.
In the car, headed down the road, and somebody said, don't go, Rhonda.
What was your thought pattern?
Yeah, so 45 minutes beforehand, you're here, you're committed, you're, moving forward. I just was thinking about, I just want everything to go well, right? So, I want to make sure he was late. So I was trying to make sure I was on time and I was ready, and, everything was kind of set up. I didn't have a coordinator, so I just felt like, what's going to happen? Is everything going to be okay? So that's what my mind was focused on. I wasn't at all having any second thoughts like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this, or, no one was coming saying like, it's your last chance, run now if you want. It was none of that. I was just more just like, I want this to be an enjoyable time. I want to have a good time. I want to, make sure everything goes well.
Yeah. It's crazy. She's gonna throw me out there like I was late. I was, but it was for a reason.
It doesn't matter.
I had to coordinate the three boys. Everybody at the crib, and like she said, we had a de facto wedding coordinator, somebody who was like, look, I'll help out, right? Because again, initially it was supposed to be so small, right? But I can't believe she just did that, man. Right on.
Yeah. I mean, the boys had to put on pants and a shirt. You know how long that takes.
Come on, man. I got tied 3 ties. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. What about for you?
I think, by the time wedding day came, you know, you're only thinking about getting married. It's I didn't have any doubts once we, you know, got engaged and we were wedding planning and all that, I mean, that's where out the door, you know, like I didn't think about divorce or marrying a divorced person didn't come up at all in my mind. It was like, I'm marrying you and let's do this.
That's good.
I love that. So moving forward, you know, what advice would you give to a divorced person who desires to be remarried? I'll start with you, Rhonda.
Oh, well, I've never been divorced, so maybe.
I'm saying to a person who's going to marry someone who's been divorced. Sorry.
Oh, I would just say, like with anything, any big decision, you mean pray about it first. You know, that's one of the things that I took comfort in because I really felt like God had shown me that I was to marry Marquise. So once you have that confidence in what you believe God is leading you, then you really shouldn't have any doubt. So pray about it. You know, have as much conversation as you feel like you need to have with the person. Understanding that sometimes going through some of the details might be difficult or emotional for the other person. So you don't want to prod too much, but you know, it's you about to make a life decision to be with this person. So you want to make sure you know what you need to know in order to feel comfortable with moving forward. And I would just say, you know, trust the counsel of some wise folks. Pick them very carefully because sometimes people can just be trying to, you know, throw salt for various reasons. But, you know, I think once you do those three things, I mean, God says yes, you've asked your questions, and you have your support group, and move on forward.
Yeah. What about for you?
For me, I would say, so I got married at 34. I would say when I was younger, maybe like in my early 20s, when, you know, you slightly think about marriage, you know, I might have written off someone who was divorced, or maybe they had a child or something like that. But marrying a little bit older, I would say don't write off anyone, you know, because of past decisions that they made, you know, it's, you know, especially divorce, because it doesn't have to be, you know, like, I don't even think about that you're divorced ever, to be honest. Like, it doesn't really come up outside of like situations like this, you know? So, you know, if that person has changed and is, you know, made their decision to, you know, if you made the decision to be with them, you know, just allow them to be them, and you all form your relationship as you want it to be, not with this hedge of divorce, you know, lingering around.
Love that. What about for you, Marquise? Someone desires after divorce to be loved, huh?
Don't rush. I mean, I'm grateful. I was in a couple of situations where, because again, like I said, I went through a season of just really missing my boys. I had created a family, and now that was no longer accessible for me on a day-to-day basis. And so I was like, yo, I want to be married. I want to be in a relationship. I don't want to, you know, whatever. So don't rush. I would say no matter what's happening, just don't rush it. Don't think, you know, whether for career reasons or because you just love the idea of marriage, don't rush. And I think outside of don't rush, along with don't rush, is because of, you know, the advice that I got. Make sure that whatever, you know, you needed to get out of your system, if you think you know, as a single person, that's out of your system before you get with somebody else and potentially hurt them because you didn't do the deep work you needed to do before you decided to join your life to someone else's life. So don't rush, and then not rushing, just whatever it is you got to do between you and God, or between you or whatever, make sure you got that out of your system so that when you make that decision, you don't hurt the other person because you didn't take the time to do the deep work that you needed to do.
Yeah. And I think I'll piggyback on that, on the healing process, man. Take the time to heal. You know, I think for me, one of the interesting things about stepping away from everybody and literally being by myself every day, not having people to lean on, not having people with encouraging words, was that I had the opportunity to look at the man in the mirror. And I began to look at myself and see the things that I did not like. And literally God started to show me how to work on it, how to be honest, how to be trustworthy, how to love again. And it was amazing to me. Once I allowed God to heal, now I'm holding safe space talking about divorce recovery. You know what I'm saying? Where I was just like, yo, we can't, don't see the D word, And now that I experienced this, one of the things that through my preaching, through side conversations, through counseling, I tell people, man, when God restores you, man, it's literally, I am whole again. You know what I'm saying? And what I love about the restoration process, and we talked about this with Pastor Davis last week, is the restoration process does not mean that you're remarried. I was restored before I met my wife. You know what I'm saying? Like I was whole, I was healed before, and then it was just like, oh, now that I'm healed, boom, this is perfect now time to share myself. But take that time to allow God to prune you, to cut out those things. And you have to have the desire to be better. That was one of the most important things for me. Like, dude, when I looked at myself in the mirror, I was like, this, because sometimes you're like, well, this is my good side, so you just look at yourself in the mirror through the good side. I said, no, God, literally good, bad, ugly. What must I do so that one, I can be saved, and two, so I can love again. And one of the things God showed me through the healing process, guys, was that, man, I didn't love myself, guys. I didn't love myself. I love some of the things I did. I love my preaching. I love Oakwood. I love, but I didn't love myself. You know what I'm saying? And God started to show me through his love how to love myself. And how to love myself means to be able to accept. I'm sensitive. Like I'm Drake. Like I cry on you. Like I just cry. And I think me and Marquise had a few crying moments.
Yeah, definitely.
Just cried, and it's interesting. At 40, I'm like, yo, you need somebody to cry with? I'll cry. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm raising my hand because I love myself, guys. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I love those things that society says, men, you shouldn't do. I love the fact that, even with my wife in her profession, that there might be a day where I might be a stay-at-home dad. What? I love that joint. I love the fact that I can just be who I am. And it wasn't until I was broken that I was able to look in the mirror, totally broken too, because you're always broken, but I'm talking about smashed up, where I was able to look in the mirror and say, God, fix me. And one of those foundational things was, yo, I love you. I made you. I created you. Now, this is how you love yourself. I mean, like my wife would tell you, yo, I don't need no six-pack to be loved. Come on, somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need no hairline.
Hold on. Six-pack can't do nothing for a party. I'm bringing this keg. You hear me?
Keg. Like, I don't need hairline to be loved. You know what I'm saying? I grow my facial hair out. Like, those are the things that seem supernatural, superficial, but they're real life. Like,
I don't my head, right?
That head is big. They're real life things that I believe that the world needs to know that you love about yourself. And so I want to thank you guys for this opportunity. Before we go, though, man, you guys are a true picture of God's restoring promise that he has given us, but also you guys have a little bundle of joy that you guys got to get back to. Talk about that process now. And this is the first time I've seen Rhonda smile this whole time. No, I'm joking. Baby girl, how has that changed things in your household?
So, I don't want to, every journey and every experience is different, right? And so I love a lot of what you're saying about, really leaning on God. And I don't want to come off as anti-religion and anti-God, but you haven't really arrived. No one has arrived. You know what I'm saying? And you may be good in this moment, but it takes sometimes a new situation to shine light on an aspect that you can't see. Like I can't, even though, D, even though I shave, I never can fully see the back of my head. I just got to take it by faith or ask somebody else to kind of show me, which is why I believe that God made us for koinonia and for community, so that somebody else can say, yeah, you did actually miss a spot. And having a little girl at 44 was the Lord saying, you missed a spot. Right. And so I really, I had to do some deep work, because there were things where I was telling Rhonda, like, "Yo, this is just who I am. You got to accept this." And rah, rah, rah. She was like, "Okay, but do you really, is that really who you are?" And so then when I have a little girl coming into the world, I needed to give her the absolute best version of myself. And you know me, D, I read, you know what I mean? So I went and bought like every book on psychology, psychiatry. I went and did a personal development course, because now I want to be the best possible. And it's different raising a girl than raising a boy. With the boy, shut up, shut up, quit all that, you know what I mean? But with a girl, she needs to be nurtured. She needs to be protected, and there are personality traits that as she becomes and develops into the person that she is going to be, that I needed to be, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, in a place to where I could encourage growth as opposed to negatively impact that growth. So for me, it was, the Lord was saying, yeah, there's some, you missed the spot, bro. And this young lady is going to help you. She's going to show you that spot. And so that's what it was really for me. It was Phoenix, and her name is Phoenix. Phoenix was for me, the Lord saying, yeah, you on that, you got to be this person and that person, and can't nobody change you. But let's see how that works with her. There's some behaviors that I never want her to see. I never want to do where she sees me acting a particular way, or acting out, or speaking to her mom, or speaking to other people that I might have told Rhonda, hey, look, I'm 45 years old. This is who I am, blase, this, that, and the third. But when my little girl comes into the world, and this is not like I was in a different place when I had my previous children, that I think I was a different dad for my eldest son, my middle son, my baby, that I am and will be for this child, for everything, all the experiences that went into me being this person. So that to me was like, yeah, nah, again, like I said, the analogy, I've been shaving my head now for probably 15 years, but the Lord said, here, you need this because you've been missing a spot for 15 years.
Man, I love that. I love that. Rhonda, did you want to share anything about that?
About what he said about?
Yeah, about Phoenix now entering into your life,
Yeah, so I think my experience is probably a little bit different than his, because I think Phoenix kept entering in, and first of all, we were very surprised by Phoenix.
Okay.
I think that she is showing me things about myself that I didn't realize were really in place before, right? So whereas he's saying, yeah, I did this work in order to get prepared, I think she's now showing me that there's work that I need to do, right? So, maybe I'm not as patient as I thought I was, or I'm not as affectionate as I thought I was. So I think she is showing me kind of like a mirror, is how I would say, to kind of say, I'm here now, and there's things that I need to do to sort of continue to grow myself and my character as well.
And, one of the things that Rhonda just alluded to was the surprise was, Rhonda had one, Phoenix was born when she was in her 40s, right? And so I don't know which kind of medicine you practice, Ashley, but once you hit that 30, 35, you're already considered high risk. And then there were other factors, at least two other factors, that made this pregnancy an extremely high risk pregnancy. And so we had to really kind of buckle down and pray and say, all right, there is a risk factor associated with her even having a baby, and so again, that was even more so, like literally Rhonda said to me at one point as we were going in, she was like, hey babe, this is when we say, like, we wasn't expecting a baby. As she was being willed in, she said to me, she said, hey, if I don't make it out of here, no, I loved you the best way I can, and make sure the baby comes up around my family. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I wasn't going to do that on this one.
No.
And again, I was like, I can't be just this dude right here. You know what I mean? Like, I can't be him. I gotta be somebody different for her, because like that was a reality for us. It was like, yo, I mean, seriously, this is not, as preachers, we say things, man.
Yeah.
This woman is being willed in, and she looks at me, she says, hey, if I don't make it out, I loved you the best way I could, and make sure she knows my family, so yeah, that thing was crazy, man. And again, you missed the spot. I didn't realize, but being in that situation, you can't plan for that. You think you're the best person you're gonna possibly be at that stage, until somebody that you love is saying, hey, I may not make it out of this room, so here's some things I need you to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's interesting to me how God restores you in different seasons of your life too. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, you never arrive, but it's as you keep on going through different seasons, he's showing you that you still got hair, like you said, in the back of your head, and let me help you get that. Guys, man, listen, man, I appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
I appreciate your honesty. I dedicated this whole month to divorce recovery, because I think it's something that the church doesn't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, it's a situation in the church. And I praise God for your testimony, for your honesty, for your transparency, you as well, Ashley, to be able to help heal someone else. I get text messages, keys from all over, of people, how the safe space has been something that's helping them deal with current issues and challenges. And so I believe God's going to utilize this safe space to bring healing and to bring hope to someone. And so I bless and I thank you guys for being, just transparent, man, and just keeping it 100. And I think there's something about keeping it 100. Even in the church, we love to glorify in the streets. Like I keep it buck 100, but keeping it 100 in the church, man, allows your testimony to resonate with others who are going through the same thing.
Yeah.
Praise God. I love you guys. You guys took some time out of your busy schedule. I know Phoenix I don't know if she's asleep yet, but she's asleep. Okay.
Okay. In a minute, so the Christian will be rousing unto God.
No, but we praise God for you guys, man. And Pastor, would you mind closing us out with a word of prayer?
Let's pray. Father, thank you for healing. Thank you for restoration. Thank you for loving us enough not to let us continue to walk around with patches of hair in the back of our head. I ask that you would continue to shower your love on Damaris and Ashley. Do the same for Rhonda and I, that ultimately we can make it to the kingdom together in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you guys, man. Love you guys.
All right, bro. Thanks, Ashley. Still praying for you.
All right. Bye.
All right,
we hope you enjoyed tonight's Safe Space. If you're interested in a more intimate conversation, please join us for Off the Record this upcoming Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central. Please see the slide for details. And remember, all are welcome.